This is an introduction to forecasting as a service from First Analytics. This is being recorded in May of 2015. Before we talk about forecasting as a service, though, you should go out to our SaaS First Analytics partner website at saasfirst.com. There you'll find some background videos introducing First Analytics and also a related video to forecasting as a service about an interim analytics platform we stood up at Kellogg's. There's also some other fact sheets, website content, and other materials that describe some of the other offerings from First Analytics. But this presentation is strictly about forecasting as a service. We do have a lot of SaaS forecasting experience, having implemented SaaS forecasting in one way, shape, or form at these clients. Most of these are either forecast server or DDPO implementations or just SaaS ETS type forecasting, but we do have extensive experience implementing larger scale projects versus what we're talking about today, which is typically smaller scale forecasting as a service. And to set it up, rather than talk about a success story, I'd rather talk about a failure story. Several years ago, we pursued Francesca's Collections, which is a Houston-based retailer, not a large retailer, but we had a forecast server opportunity in there and lost it. And this is why. First of all, they actually did have IT approval to go ahead and make the purchase, but IT told them that given all the other things we have going on, we're not able to support it. We don't have anybody to handle your data. We have nobody to handle the reporting. And we have nobody who will answer the phone to support SaaS or SaaS Forecast Server. However, if you want to go ahead and purchase it, you're on your own. That's fine with us. So that was kind of exciting to that group because they thought they could handle it. But then on the other hand, they had no analytical staff. So there was nobody to actually run and maintain the software. And in fact, they didn't feel like they wanted to hire a forecaster because it was only going to be about 2 to 3 days a month. And then the SaaS on demand proposal was prohibitively expensive, and that's pretty much which was the straw that broke the camel's back and kind of ended the deal because it just made it too expensive a proposition in order to move forward for them. At that point, Forecast Server for Desktop had not been released. That may have been an alternative, but still there were other issues, particularly the data integration and the support from IT that really kind of helped to trip this up. So coming out of that, that kind of gave us we always knew the elements were there, but the elements of a forecasting as a service, as a more formal offering between SaaS and First Analytics was sort of born. And there are these following services and benefits. In terms of the staffing issue, what you would get, what our client would get, would be a forecast analyst for a certain number of days per month. Could be 5 days, 20 days, 30 days. It could be a full-time person if necessary. So this person is a First Analytics staffer or staffers who create and maintain the statistical forecast and forecast server. They're the forecast server analyst, basically, an administrator. They manage the exceptions to improve the forecast. They're always tweaking and tuning month after month or cycle after cycle. They publish and disseminate the forecast to either reports or downstream consuming systems, BI tools, whatever the case may be. But they also talk to people too. They are available to field questions from merchants or demand planners or whatever the case may be in the client and help tweak and tune the forecasts. And of course, they're constantly monitoring for accuracy. The benefits to the customer is they do not need to hire and retain and continually need to care and feed an analytical staff. The hire is hard enough for some companies, and retain, of course, is difficult as well. There tends to be a high turnover of people in analytical groups these days, and that can really be impactful for a smaller company. They avoid some costs. Obviously, they're going to be paying the cost for the service, but we feel like that cost will be offset or even lower by going or go lower than going in to have to do salary and benefit costs. We've tried to look at that as we price these things out. There's consistency and reliability. There will always be somebody dedicated from First Analytics over time that will know the business. And even if the person changes at First Analytics, we have coverage where everybody's always aware of the particular client. And so you have the full backing of the analytical talent and forecast server experience at First Analytics. And I should add that virtually everybody on the team has used forecast server in projects at First Analytics. And in fact, several of us helped sell and implement Forecast Server as SaaS employees in our past careers. In terms of the technology, First Analytics maintains the platform. So again, that eliminates the IT need from the perspective of the customer. Yeah, we're flexible in terms of where it can be hosted, whether it's in our environment or theirs, whether it's cloud or behind the firewall. Doesn't really matter as long as all the licensing protocols are in place between the client and SaaS and us through our partnership agreement. The benefits are it solves the not supported issue that was raised by IT. It reduces or actually eliminates a hardware investment that can be expensive and take time. And of course, we are able to spin up these instances fairly quickly. Again, I refer you to the Kellogg's case where we hosted an environment for them for some time and were able to get that started pretty quickly. In terms of the initial setup, whenever you start a forecasting system, it's not good to go from day one. There are some hardware, software configuration issues and some model tuning issues. So from a setup standpoint, we set up the platform, do the installation and the configuration. At the client's option, we can actually do some of the ETL and data integration routines, putting all the data together, both the upstream that feeds Forecast Server and then getting in a format that needs to be used to feed downstream reporting or BI tools, whatever the case may be. From an analytical perspective, we do some of the analytical design. How do we segment or cluster or group product and location hierarchies? How do we use and transform causal variables? Finally, in terms of the initial modeling setup and tuning for accuracy, we look at all the knobs and dials in Forecast Server and figure out things like model repositories and selection lists, like selection criteria, and generally what kinds of things we need to do to improve the accuracy. The benefits, again, are this big one where there's not many IT resources that are needed. We can do this pretty quickly. We've done it many times before, so we know and actually have some images ready to go that can be turned on and ready to go pretty quickly. And then again, from the accuracy standpoint, we have a scientific, rigorous attempt or a process to really look through all of the options in Forecast Server and come up with the best accurate, most accurate forecast given the data that's available. And it can take us just a matter of weeks what it takes months and months and months for others to people to do. So that summarizes the services and benefits for forecasting as a service. We kind of see this as a mid-market opportunity, but of course there could be larger clients where this could play as well. But we'd like to pursue opportunities together with SaaS. So I'd encourage you to go look at some of the materials that are already there. You probably have been at that site since you're watching this video, but there are fact sheets. There's links to information on our public site.